What's up, guys? My name is Sebastián and welcome to another episode of The Seba Show. And today we're going to review a movie that came out recently on HBO Max, which you can also see in theaters right now. And the movie I'm going to talk about is The Little Things, starring Denzel Washington and Rami Malek, which I never thought I would say those two names in the same movie. It's incredible. Just that concept alone, I'm like, Rami Malek and Denzel Washington are in the same movie? How does that work? And of course, there's also Jared Leto, but he's not really like the main star. He's in the movie, he's one of the main cast, but he's not like the leading man or one of the leading gentlemen here. So this is one of those movies that we're in February. I was like, I don't know what to expect. This could be one of those like mystery crime movies that it's not terrible, but it's kind of mediocre or just kind of bland. I think mostly bland or generic, like just nothing there. It's like, okay, wasn't bad to watch, but didn't give me anything. So I thought this was what it's going to be, especially having Denzel in there. He's probably going to give a great performance, or not maybe great, but maybe a good performance as always, but nothing to write home about. But I was like, you know what, I want to give it a shot. I want to see it's in there. And the good thing about HBO Max, what they're doing now this year, is like every theater release is also coming to VOD on HBO Max, which is weird because it says like, oh, it's on an extra cost, which why the hell would you do that? But I watched it without an extra cost, so I don't know why they keep advertising that, but please don't give me a fee. So I watched it last night, and this is what I have to say. So I will say the intro of the movie was very suspenseful. It was very scary, especially the situation, and it kind of we kind of see the situation, unfortunately, nowadays, and it's been a thing for for centuries, but it's still something that's very prevalent today, unfortunately. It was impactful in a way that made me like scary, made me like, oh my god, like please, like let's go. I won't spoil the scene, but it involves a woman getting chased by someone, and it kind of sets up what part of this whole case and mystery of the film. But there was one cliche in there that I was like, man, like the cliche of the woman tripping over nothing. I'm like, oh my god, like, or we're watching a horror movie from the 70s. So I thought that was ridiculous. I'm like, oh come on. I swear to you, I was watching that scene of her running. I was like, please, like please don't tell me we're gonna see this cliche. Oh yeah, it did. It just happened. She just fell. I don't know why you keep doing that. It's so lazy and shitty. I don't like that. It's not good writing. But other than that, I do think the intro was very effective and it set the mood. And I was like, oh my god, okay, let's see what goes on. And then we get the rest of the story, which the basic story of this movie involves Denzel Washington, who plays I think his first name was Jonathan, or is it James? One of those. But last name Deacon, pretty badass name. He's this kind of retired detective, but I think he's like a police officer, or kind of like not a sheriff, but it's like a small town cop. It's not doing any of the big LA work that he used to do, but he's trying to get away from that LA detective lifestyle and trying to do some work, away from that stuff, because as we kind of see, this character has some dark past. There's a lot of detective noir films or crime stories would do. Some of these people have dark, shady pasts. But in this movie, he gets reeled back into that world. They decided to, close that door, which we thought it was closed. But it's just like, no, you gotta go one last time. And the way they kind of made him go there was kind of like interesting, but also kind of, I don't know if it's like convenient, but kind of not the best way to do it. I thought they could have done it a better way to make him go back to that world that he decided to leave behind. It's just like, but it was interesting at the same time, because it did set up some of the characters that we do meet, especially Rami Malek, who plays Jimmy. I forgot his last name, but Jimmy. And oh my god, I gotta say right now, Jimmy, boy. Like, Rami Malek, he's a good actor. I cannot say he's not a bad actor. He's a very good actor, but he kind of hams it up a lot. He hams it up a lot. I have not seen Mr. Robot. I've seen bits of one, like the first episode. But people love him apparently in the show. But the things I have seen him in films. He's not bad. It's just his facial expressions are kind of wacky a little bit, especially this maybe some of his tone. The volume of his voice is kind of ridiculous sometimes. It just sometimes comes up as a caricature, and sometimes you can't take it seriously. I did kind of like him in Bohemian Rhapsody, but he was pretty much a cartoon in there as well sometimes. But he's good. He does have some good stuff, and he still is a good actor. I still see that talent, but man, once he got interjected in this movie from the get-go, I was like, fuck. Like, his character was relegated to just doing this like this. Oh, not like Clint Eastwood, but he's like this. It's like he's holding his teeth behind that mouth. I'm like, bro, like, hey, let's relax those muscles a little bit. Like, at first I was like, man, I don't know about him. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's very cartoony. But then, I mean, in the beginning, it's not like disliked him. I was just not enjoying him. I was like, man, he's just not very good right now. But then I warmed up to the character, and instead of being just this ridiculous guy in the beginning, I kind of enjoyed him by the end of the movie. I did. I gotta say, I admit, I enjoyed him. I got sucked into this character and the story, and I really enjoyed him. Although it's still a little bit ridiculous. I think his character is supposed to be a little, I don't know what he has really, but I guess he's supposed to be more like super mild-mannered, but kind of a douchey and not very good of a person. For some reason, he got improved, and I don't know, maybe his performance kind of sucked me in, the story. I think it's a mix of those, and it worked out by the end, so I did enjoy him, but you gotta recognize it's probably not the best performance. It's still not bad, but it's still not great. But speaking of like not very good people, I noticed that in this movie, besides the main cast, everyone in this movie, except maybe like 3-5 people in the movie, were complete assholes and nonchalant about dead people. They're just like, whatever. They're making jokes, cracking stuff up. They're like, they don't give a fuck. I mean, there's this one scene where like this landlord comes in and pretty not giving a fuck, like blasé about it. I'm like, whatever. Someone died here. Who cares? I'm the landlord. Like, the fuck? Only she cared about was like the blood stains on the floor, the carpet, and I mean, yeah, she was still kind of turned off by it, but like a dead person, that she barely sees that in her life, or never seen that in her life, like a murder scene. But she was still not like, she wasn't like real about it. She wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe they just killed someone in my apartment. She was like, yeah, no, you get used to the smell. Like, she was acting like super nonchalant about it, like it's pretty normal. The fuck? And a lot of people, like the forensic people, all the detectives, the police, I mean, they act like it's just, I mean, I get that it's part of their job and they kind of see this routinely, but they make jokes in front of the corpses and crime scenes, and I'm like, especially the deacon making jokes sometimes, and I'm like sort of an autopsy. No, like, a complete disregard for this is a person who was living and breathing a moment ago. It's like, let's just not respect that. Maybe I'll get into like a spiritual conversation here, but I'm just saying, like, man, these are people who are alive in one moment of their lives and just acting like it's nothing, like it's not a big deal. We shouldn't even respect them. And I mean, sometimes, yeah, they do crack jokes about the way that person died. I'm like, what the fuck, man? That was just douchey. And even some people outside of that, they just treat crime like it's nothing, because, oh, it doesn't affect me, I'm just a complete shit about it. Man, a lot of bad people. There's no one sympathetic except maybe Jimmy's wife and the kids. It's just, it was too much sometimes. I'm like, god damn, really? There were some shots with the editing. I'll talk about the editing. There's two people sitting at the table, and like the littlest of detail. I mean, the movie's called The Little Things, and they don't pay attention to the little things. Like, there's this one scene between Jimmy and this other person in an interrogation, and oh, here's a picture of the victim. And the picture, when you were facing the person who's being interrogated, the picture's on top of his hand. But when we cut back to Jimmy, we see that the picture's not on top of the guy's hand. and they don't fix it at all. It just goes through that whole scene. I'm like, dude, really? But I mean, it's not a super big deal, really. You can say it's a nitpick, I guess, but man, it's just a little bit of detail like that. It goes a long way. But the editing, oh my god, the editing is really bad. It's super choppy, like boom, 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 cutting different angles, and like, it's not super bad, but there's a lot of times it also goes with the pacing. It's not smooth and natural. It's all like cut. It's not even fast paced. It's just like, man, let things simmer a little bit. Let things take their time. You don't have to cut to everything, because it makes me look and think the director was like, well, it's just leaving things there, or maybe the editor. I don't know. Maybe it's a director, but I'm just saying, like, it makes me think that they said, like, you know what, if we leave this running for a little bit, it'll bore people. You know, we gotta keep going, like, get moving with the story. We can't stop unless for like some scenes that require you to stop and just focus on something. Man, it was bad. It was like jarring a little bit. It was like, oh, it wasn't good. It was not good. Not terrible. I've seen worse, but it was competent sometimes. But a lot of times, even a scene of like Denzel driving, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Oh my god, speaking of driving, there's one scene at night with people driving, and you can tell it's like a background. It looked bad. I'm like, God. Which also comes up what I think this movie's really, sometimes it has TV movie quality. Especially one scene, I wrote that down, especially there's one scene that it transitioned to another scene, but very, fades in, fades out, or juxtaposed both scenes. But in a way, it was very TV movie, almost not Lifetime-ish, but very TV movie. I'm like, ugh. Almost like not the best Netflix movie. So the editing was like one of the worst parts of the movie. I think the direction was not that good. It wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was not the best. Especially, I think the writing is one of the big factors here. But sometimes the writing does not give us good performances. Especially some actors that are pretty good, and sometimes it just sounds cheesy. Sometimes it doesn't sound like the best delivery you could get. I mean, Denzel, dude, he is never bad in anything. From the moment he's on screen, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. Sometimes I do think he maybe doesn't ad-lib. Maybe he does a little bit of ad-libbing. I don't know, because he makes it look so natural and flawless. I'm like, is what he's saying, does it actually come from the paper? I don't know. Maybe it's like the direction, but I think some of the dialogue is pretty bad. Some of the dialogue, like, ugh. I think it's a mix of like the direction and the writing, which is written by the director, who's John Lee Hancock, whose name sounds like an author from like the 1800s. I don't know. Maybe should have been more confident in the film, with the editing, kind of let things simmer. And maybe the writing, kind of get some more stuff, get some better performances from some of the actors. Oh, Jared Leto was actually good, like super good. He was creepy. He was like kind of gushy on your nerve because he's this guy who, I mean, if you see him, you're already thinking like, oh, he's a murderer, he's a fucking serial killer. He's this guy that's super confident. I mean, he kind of likes being this little game of cat and mouse. He annoys you because he is so confident. He thinks he's smarter than everybody, so he cracks jokes to piss off the detectives and everything. And he's good, but he's also kind of creepy. So he was very good and very effective. Of course, the writing, there's like some very convenient stuff that happens during the movie. I'm like, okay, it's just like there's a good concept here. Although it's a kind of, how I said at the beginning that this movie kind of looked like it would be generic. It kind of is a story of like, oh, well, this dude has a bad, shady story. Is he good? Is he bad? But everybody in this movie, like, oh, like it's not black or white, it's gray. And Deacon's character, I enjoyed him, but later on, you're like, I don't know if I like him anymore. I mean, Denzel's fantastic, great performances, but I don't know if I like him, especially Rami Malek, Jimmy. I'm like, I don't know if I like these people, or if I can be sympathetic to any of those people. I think they're pretty shitty. You understand their situations and what their drive is, but the way to execute stuff and what they do, it's like, man. But even if some stuff is like very generic, there's still captivate me a little bit. I was still reeled in a little bit about the story, even though it's, again, super basic. It's not super like inventive, but I still got sucked in. I think it was mostly based on performances, maybe a little bit of the writing, but other than that, it's just, if you take off maybe these great actors, then maybe it wouldn't have been as good or as enjoyable. Because I have to say right now, it's not a good movie. I enjoyed it by the end of it. I really did. I think the third act was kind of sloppy. Like, oh my god, there's some stuff in that third act. I'm like, what is going on? Plus, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. A lot of stuff doesn't work. And the way they kind of ended it was like interesting, but I don't know if it was like a very strong ending. So I really got to fault to some of the production angles about this movie that made me not enjoy it, made me think, or made me not think that it's a good movie. But there's some good, enjoyable stuff in here. I think the premise is kind of interesting. Also, the movie's set in 1990, but there's a lot of moments that you're like, this could have been anywhere, like on the present day, really. Sometimes I can't even tell if we're in the 1990s. I mean, some of the costuming, it just looks like modern day clothing and style. I'm like, is this supposed to be the 90s? Sometimes they also kind of try to run home with it, like, oh, we're in the 90s, like let's not forget where we are. And like, okay, but yeah, I don't know, but it was still interesting. It was still interesting to be set in 1990. And also, what I kind of give props to it, the movie made me feel like I am on a crime novel, like I'm in a book. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it didn't feel like it dragged on like a book. I'm not saying like books drag on, but you know, like books, it's more lengthier than a film is supposed to be. It didn't feel like that. It felt pretty good, even though it's like almost 2.5 hours. But yeah, there's some good stuff in here, but I can't say it's a good movie. So to the little things, I gotta give a rating of 6.5 out of 10. I can't say it's good, like a 7, but it's okay. It's almost there. But I think there's a lot of stuff in here I can't say it's a good movie. I can't say it's a good movie. So what do you think of the little things? Have you seen the movie? What are your ratings on it from the scale of 10? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you enjoy the performances? Do you think the ending was kind of like, what the hell? Or maybe some of the characters were like, what the fuck? Of course, if you're gonna spoil some stuff, put some spoiler tags on the comments, so you know, to ruin people's experience before they see the movie. But please let me know in the comments what you thought about the film as a whole. Let's discuss it. And well, that's my review of the little things. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and please, I'll try to do more reviews. I'm trying to have time to do reviews for a lot of things, so stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for a lot of different content right here on the Seba Show. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and please, I'll try to do more reviews. I'm trying to have time to do reviews for a lot of things, so stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for a lot of different content right here on the Seba Show. My name is Sebastián, and you're watching the Seba Show.